Everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the face, and a couple of you got punched in the face hard. But I don't want you to be a coach. You're gonna have a hard enough fucking time being your own fucking coach. Don't worry about anybody else. Be selfish. If you'd been more selfish, you wouldn't be here. Think of yourself. You can't be a good father, a good partner, a good anything unless you have self-esteem for yourself. Political correctness, in my opinion, is the manifestation of lack of self-esteem. I'm okay, you're okay. I don't think they sell one copy of I'm okay, you're okay in Russia. Not one copy of the book. I wonder why. Intellectually and emotionally, the Russians get this program the best. I'm on board the fucking gang plan. Everybody understand that? Remember those drowning people of the Titanic when the guy was saying we're too late? Remember that? That's you, dead in the water. The gal that jumped before me was about, I don't know, not twice as big as me, but 1.5 times as big as me. She was not a slim fitter. Her fiance was there and with her maids of honor. And she says, listen, you fat, and she was black. Listen, you fat black bitch. If you don't jump, we're not getting married tomorrow. And her girlfriends were saying, we don't need him. We don't need him. Fuck him. I still remember. I almost pissed myself. She jumped. Now, if I exaggerate a little bit, they were still cleaning her up by the time I jumped. That's a slight exaggeration. She did shit herself, piss herself, and so. But fear. You do what the others do because you're afraid of not being included. When they talk about inclusion now, that's what they mean. Comments, questions about fear. Everybody in this room is afraid. Some are just afraid a little more. We had a polished salesman come through here 4 or 5 years ago. Was used to selling $1 million items, big commissions. Commission only. Real salesmen are commission only. Everybody else is a fucking joke. And he lived in San Francisco, and his wife was committed relationship partner was Asian, and she said that she was cleaning something in the kitchen. She finally came out of the kitchen into the dining room and said, you've been looking at the goddamn phone for 40 fucking minutes. If you don't pick up the goddamn phone, I'm going to call Mr. Pena. Picked up the phone. This is a polished salesman. You heard the Belgian waffle one say, he alluded to it, although in another webinar, I got a new pair of shoes, and I was getting dressed because I had appointments, and I threw up all over and ruined them. I would have cleaned them up myself, until I had another good pair of shoes. So you're going to be going out of your comfort zone. And then now you heard him say, Belgian Waffle 1, that now he's okay with cold calling, which is a lie. He's less afraid of cold calling. And even though you got the little things on pieces of paper or cards, wherever you put them, you'll still be apprehensive. You will. You'll still be apprehensive. We used to ask and take surveys about who says they're not going to be apprehensive. It's all lies. Because then for bravado, you lie here to say that you have no problem. A couple of you have already started your dream teams, etc. I'm not going to ask you. For the most part, you fucked it up anyway. You're going to go back and try to correct what you did. And just as there's only one time to make a first impression, there's only one time to start the process. And if you already started the process and you started wrong, you can't undo it. You can't fix it. It's like putting a Band-Aid on cancer. But you'll figure that out for yourself. We had a child's prodigy in here years ago, and had built his team and done all this stuff. And then when he got back, his chairman said he wanted 35% instead of the 10% that he got. And so we got a desperation call to Kim. And the kid had done his homework. I didn't take his call, but I read the email. And then I said that you got to get rid of him. They were, they already had the head in, but the kid did it. And then the board resigned. Did they resign because he was 19? Did they resign because the chairman, went and talked to him? Talked to the other board members? But then the kid felt relieved that he didn't have to fire all the rest of the board. They quit. The deal fell in the shitter. The banker won't talk to him anymore. The council lawyer said, fuck you for wasting my time. That's the worst case scenario, and it happened to the kid. He went to grad school, got an MBA. Speaking of Bloombergs, I just read a newsletter. Bill Gates has 11 houses. Zuckerberg has 13 houses. And how many houses these various people have. The highest of the billionaires had 31 houses. And they all fly around in their private planes. I don't own a plane, but I do fly around in a private plane that I pay for. And so, yet they go and preach at conferences about ozone and being at 0 plus something by 2030. Because it's all horseshit. It's all a drama. Just as most of the rich guys now are trying to rewrite their legacy from being ruthless assholes, and the foundations. I'm told the real brains behind the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation, the wife who's now divorced. I don't know if she's divorced him just because he went to the Epstein Island or not, but I know at least 100 guys that went to that island. I was asked at least 3 or 4 times, and I didn't go. You have to be brain dead to go. But even the billionaires want to be liked, not just because some 15-year-old sucking their dick. They want to be one of the guys. I'm sure most of you in this room would have gone. Because a stiff dick has no conscience. None. Zero. So how are you going to break this? How are you going to be unafraid? How are you going to invoke lasting change, not temporary change? That's what the seminar is all about. That's what the seminar is all about. Now, you read 2 papers last night. One of which is the woman that, the richest woman in China, who hadn't taken a day off in 26 years, if my memory serves me correctly. And she's still very active. I told you from 1971 to 1997, I didn't take a day off, including the day I got married. Dedication, call it. Perseverance, call it. Selfishness, call it. All those words describe. So how close can you get to that example? How close can you get to that sacrifice? And all these things you should be asking yourself, how do I make this apply to me? And how do I take action? Can I do that? Some of you already know you can't. So everything that we talk about that is a question mark in your mind brings you less close to the ultimate QLA model, being all you can be. And already there's been 6 or 7 things, and I'm assuming that maybe 2/3 of them you think you can do. If you think you can do it and you don't say, I know I can do it, then it's 50-50 whether you can do it or can't do it. And the other thing you read, any comments or questions about the lady? Then the second thing you read was, what was the second thing? What? Like, yeah, why they, okay. That's one of my faves. And most of you can't relate to that. Intellectually, you can. It's easy. Emotionally, when we were boxing yesterday, you were boxing, and every time somebody got hit hard, if you notice, here's the ring, and I was sitting like this because I'm looking at your facial expressions. And when you wince, and when a couple of you went down, and if you looked at me and you weren't, the most I did was blink my eye because I was fairly confident nobody was going to die. I wasn't absolute. When the kid went blind a few years ago, somehow the guy hit him with a left hook and a right hook at the same time, or pretty close, and the retinal nerves, whatever that happened, not dislodged them or paralyzed them or some shit. But I could see, some of you care. Some of you care a lot. And I can guarantee you that Bezos doesn't care at all. So how do you make that leap? How do you get over that fear? How do you, for some people, it's a bridge too far. Great World War II movie about that. Then we had a couple coaches that were coaching the other guys. Hey, keep your hands up. The Russian bear was one. Keep your hands up, do this, hit that, counter punch, okay. Everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the face, and a couple of you got punched in the face hard. But I don't want you to be a coach. You're gonna have a hard enough fucking time being your own fucking coach. Don't worry about anybody else. Be selfish. If you had been more selfish, you wouldn't be here. Think of yourself. You can't be a good father, a good partner, a good anything unless you have self-esteem for yourself. Political correctness, in my opinion, is the manifestation of lack of self-esteem. I'm okay, you're okay. I don't think they sell one copy of I'm okay, you're okay in Russia. Not one copy of the book. I wonder why. Intellectually and emotionally, the Russians get this program the best. I'm on board the fucking gangplank. Everybody understand that? Remember those drowning people of the Titanic when the guy was saying we're too late? Remember that? That's you, dead in the water. I'm not going to ask you because you're going to lie. Could anybody relate to the billionaires not worrying about being liked? We had a woman who was the woman that, from the hardcore, that asked the question, who was a very senior person in JP Morgan, who's retiring now, who sat right there, and I asked her, she said she related mostly to Steve Jobs, and I flew over and choked her. She had none of the traits of Steve Jobs. Zero. Yet she had deluded herself that, she was a female Steve Jobs. Any comments or questions about being liked? The article. Yes, sir.
You talk about it so much that one of the questions I wanted to ask, what are day-to-day things I can do to get rid of that feeling more and more? Is there any exercise?
Yeah. At the end, we'll tell you, we do 2 things at the end. One, I'm relieved because it's the fucking end, and you can see it. Sally says, she stands over here, she can see it, that it's the end. But vis-a-vis that question, you will, we go through what today the superstars are doing, not from 1995. And today, about 90% of what the superstars did in the 90s and early 2000s, but not everything they do. It's a different world. It's a different world. And it's very hard once you get used to using Zoom and not having to get dressed up and only putting a tie and a coat on or whatever, that's a tough thing to break. But that's one of the things we're going to go through, okay, what they do. And the second thing, and even though you have all the things that they poo-poo that I tell you to do before you get here, I already mentioned it. It's easy to watch Billions. It's easy to watch Succession. It's easy to do some of these things. But Dan does the extreme. What did you do? One of the things on the report is, what did you do today to scare yourself? And virtually, not nobody. That'd be a Trump exaggeration. But hardly anybody does it. I did it every fucking day. And it's hard to scare me. I got an email a couple of days ago. They said he had read The Extreme or whatever, all those extremes. And he says, well, what's the thing that scared you in your life? And there's actually basically only one thing. And I talk about it in the extreme. We were in Botswana, and there was a rogue male lion that was killing people. And we happened to be at the right place at the right time. And Donnie White, who is a legendary, they don't call him white hunters anymore, legendary white hunter, was my guide, one of my two guides. And he says, you want to have a jolt? I says, that means some extra thrill. And I brought a camera crew with me to Botswana, Tanzania, and all that places that followed me around for 3 weeks. I said, yeah, what are we going to do? He says, we're going to kill that fucking lion. We're going to hunt it down. And so I get to the village, and and everybody's screaming and yelling, just like in the movies. And they figure out what the most likely place he's going to go. And then they got beaters. Beaters are guys that beat the bush to drive the animals in a certain direction. And 9 times out of 10, they go in the right direction. But 1 time out of 10, they don't go in the right direction. So we get out there and we find a old anthill that had been decimated. And so the anthill is about 7-8 feet high, and the top 2 or 3 of it were gone. And so they sat me in the anthill. So I'm up about 5 feet above the ground. And then they beat. And it sounds like voodoo. And the beating went on for about 30, 40 minutes. And they drove the lion through the brush. And so I'm thinking, he's going to come out of the brush right about where the camera is. I got 1 shot. That's it. 1. And I thought about everything from the time I was born to the time I had my first piece of ass, from the first time I ever kissed anybody, to the first time I told my mother to go fuck herself. My whole life. And my heart's going boom, boom, boom. And he turned the other way. And the white hunters, Donnie said, fuck, you lucked out, Danny. No, I didn't luck out. Now I'm going to be sorry about that for the rest of my life. So that's the most scared I've ever been. But you don't do any of it. Some of you went hang gliding, big fucking deal. Some of you went skydiving, big fucking deal. What are you doing to scare yourself? For some of you, making your first cold call is going to be a petrifying experience. And then when it takes you 200 or 300 calls to get somebody to talk to you, that's going to be a petrifying experience. And the reason why these are petrifying experiences is because you've stayed in your comfort zone all your life, or almost all your life. It's hard to get out of your comfort zone. That's why they call it a comfort zone. And getting used to being comfortable, being uncomfortable is a motherfucker. Very little makes me uncomfortable. I met 5 presidents that got all this bullshit, which doesn't mean anything. That and $6 might buy me a coffee latte at Starbucks, but you're not doing those things. And it's like, it's a building block process, as Gabriel said, this process. But scaring yourself, getting out of your comfort zone is also a building block process. A few years ago, I was at Dan Lok Steel in Vancouver, and we're at the Vancouver Club, which I was pleasantly surprised that he was a member there. And Mrs. Universe comes down the stairs. I'm with Sally, and I thought, I probably would have reacted differently to her if Sally hadn't been standing there. But that's how I got to be with Miss USA. I went out of my way, and they get hit on all the time. Nobody in this room's ever hit on any of those people except me, and that's what I was doing. My first chairman was, see the picture of Golda Meir in the bottom there? For those of you that know what Golda Meir looks like. Look at my dad's picture and go straight down to the bottom. That's Golda Meir, former Prime Minister of Israel. Well, left of her is Robert Anderson, the former Secretary of Defense and Treasurer under Eisenhower. He was my first chairman. And because he was my first chairman, my first office was 1 Rock Plaza, the top of Rockefeller Center, the penthouse. Because when they were building in the 30s and he had done work for Mr. Rockefeller, he said, I don't want a fee, I just want the office for life. So that's my first fucking office, 1 Rock. And my first chairman, he had 18%. And then after about 15 or 16 months, his wife got sick and he wanted to go spend time with her. But people actually do that, some guys. I told Sally I'm not so sure I would, but some guys. And so he gave me the 18% back, and that's why I started with $820, because we started the company with $1,000, but he gave me 18% back. But you're not going to, we had a guy at the seminar just a year ago that has the former Carlucci, former press secretary guy for Trump. I think his name is Carlucci, something. He's a Goomba, about 5 feet tall. But I tell you, don't waste your time because they're all conflicted. But he went through a bunch of former secretaries and he finally found one that wasn't conflicted. You're not going to do that. But I can tell you right now, he will never get turned down in a deal for finance. Never. You get Ben Carson, which you don't waste your time. You're never turned down. You got to stretch. And, but taking martial arts, unless you're doing full contact and you're literally getting the shit beat out of you. I mean, for real. First sparring thing I did with my guy, he chipped my fucking tooth. I look like Babson. And, I'm paying a lot of money to get worked over. But you're not going to do that. But if you do it, I hit my metal knee the wrong way just then. But if you do it, you're going to be that much closer. Okay, YouTube.